Is it okay if I move the chair? For anyone from the brand here for the product placement, is that okay? I know how it works. How are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, that doesn't sound like you're doing too well. So we're going to do one thing. Can you pick a number between 1 and 5? 4. The number's 4. I'm going to take 3 away from that. That will leave us 1. My friends, you have 1 minute, in fact 60 seconds, to introduce yourself to someone in this room who you do not know and find out some information about them that I'm going to ask you. Your time begins now. Let's go, people. Let's go. Here we go. Your time is now up. We're going to find out who spoke to who. Madame in the pink, who did you speak to? You didn't move far, did you? You just were like, you spoke to Flo. What did you find out about Flo?
That she works where I live and I live where she works.
Okay, cool. Anyone else, speak to anyone else in this room? Corey, did you speak to anyone?
I did.
You carb loading already for Sunday? What's going on? Yep. Exactly. I spoke to Jojo. She's from the north of England. That's not her fault. I mean, I'm joking with you. And she basically likes mushy peas. Okay, fine. No particular reason why I did that, but maybe this will tell you why. Running sucks. It's horrible. It's like, although it is my profession and it's something that I do, basically, most people feel that running absolutely sucks donkey balls. But more importantly, let me tell you a small story. About 6.5 years ago, basically, I was commissioned to write a one-man show about my DJ career. I'm a DJ by day, and I teach poetry and creative writing in schools around England and around the world as my other thing. And these are 2 things. And I had a massive recording deal, signed to Sony Records. I was living the life. I had a Mercedes Jeep. It was lovely. I had a big house. Cash was coming in. I had 400 pairs of trainers in my house. Won 10,000 records. I thought I was going to be a pop star. I thought I was living the life. And then one day, my A&R man stopped calling my house. And dark clouds started gathering, and my world just kind of started slowly falling apart. The second thing happened. One of my friends, a good friend of mine called Andrew, we were at a club one day, and he came up. He was in the guest list, and the guest list was humongous. And he said, "Can you get me in?" I was like, yeah, of course. So I walked him into the front of the queue, and we went in there, and I said, "I'll see you later." Because I presumed that basically, well, I'm on Facebook, so I kind of have a friendship with you because I kind of talk to you online, and I'm definitely going to see you again. And 2 weeks later, he died in his sleep. He never woke up again. When we went to his funeral, it was like going to a illegal warehouse party. The whole of South London came out for this guy's funeral, and I thought, this is really weird. There were more people coming out to this guy's funeral than people would actually come out to check on him when he was alive. And what I realized is things like Twitter, Facebook in particular, means that we now have kind of virtual relationships with people where we feel that they're really our friends, but actually we don't really know that much about them. We only know what they're telling us in their public life. So this is combining with the fact that basically there's about 2 extra stone on the front of my belly, and I needed to lose a bit of weight and get fit for this show. So I do what most people do. I put a pair of shoes on, and I went to the park, and I tried to run around it as fast as possible. And I lasted 5 minutes, and I basically came home and vomited outside my house. And then I thought to myself, running sucks. The unfortunate for me is, most of my friends are very chaotic people. We're musicians. We leave very bad hours. We work really long hours. We eat really, really badly. And basically trying to organize chaotic people into doing any form of physical activity takes hard work. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do my running thing. I'm going to start. And I basically started running very late at night because I was embarrassed about running around East London in Lycra. Because I teach in East London, I didn't want any of the boys that I see to basically see me puffing and sweating in my Lycra. Because in my DJ career, I was at the top of my game. And the one thing I find about physical activity is a lot of people don't want to start because you don't want to be the slow guy. It reminds you of being at school. And as we know about running in school is used as a punishment. You came late to class, you arrived late at football, go and run 6 laps. It's really weird. My son is 5 years old. For the moment that boy wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep, he does not stop moving. He's constantly moving. He just loves to see how fast he can go. He'll climb on the top of the sofa, he'll jump off. He'll basically go to the end of the garden, run down to the back garden as fast as he can. His older sister is 8 years old. She absolutely hates physical activity already. Because as soon as we send her to school, then it's sit here, don't talk, don't move unless we tell you to move, and when we do tell you to move, we're telling you how you're going to move. And our way we're going to tell you to move is, there's the field, run round it 6 times. Anyway, I basically start running late at night. I'm rediscovering my area. I'm kind of falling back in love with London again. And then I go and do a race. And I turn up, and I've got a Renault 5 Turbo. I'm taking the back seats out, and there's just a wardrobe of speakers. And I arrive at this race in Battersea Park. It's a 5K for Bernardo's, and my car is loud and shaking. And I pull into the car park, and I jump out in my basketball shorts and a pair of Air Force Ones, and I get out and say, "Where's the race?" And everyone looks at me with the look of, you shouldn't really be here because you don't look the part. Which is another reason why I thought to myself, I'm going to have to do something about this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start running, and I'm going to find 4 of my friends. And we're going to make a crew. It's not going to be a club, it's going to be a crew. A lot of the young people that I work with are in gangs, unfortunately. But then I realised that basically I'm in a gang. I'm a member of Soho House, a private members club. I pay money to be able to go and hang out after hours with my friends. It's kind of like being a gang for older people who have cash. So I thought to myself, I'm going to start a crew. Because what I want to do when I go to my next race, I want to see Harriers, the blah, blah, blah runners, the blah, 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 and then I want to see Run Dem Crew. I want to have the name that basically makes people think, who are those guys? So basically, I get the crew and we start. Then I realized that basically, we need to start bringing people away from the computer, getting them out of their houses, and basically creating a space where people can come together. Well, actually, the running is irrelevant. The running is the least important part of what Run Dem Crew does. It's about the act of bringing positive people together to share an activity, and then basically finding out what other stuff they have. So I come up with this idea with a box. And my idea of the box is, I don't need a building, I need a box. Because wherever the box is, the crew is. And that means I can take Run Dem Crew into the park, I can take it into a school, I can take it to the corner of my road. Wherever you see the box, you know that's the place we're going to gather, and so on and so forth. We started off with 6 people. We'd run on a Friday night, and we'd run 1.5 miles, and we were proud. And we declared this on Facebook so that the rest of our friends could know. 5.5 years later, we now have 5 sessions a week, and on our Tuesday session, we are now at the point where we're getting about 200 people per session. There are more people who are coming out to basically run with me than coming to hear me play records. It's a really strange thing. And it's just a really nice thing for me, myself personally, to know that once a week, I get to spend time in a room with a group of really, really positive and creative people who will then go on and inspire me. And the thing that we like doing is we like running. And we have runners who are running, who have just come off the sofa, all the way up to runners who are running 2.5-hour marathons and basically are kind of at the top of their game. We're even getting to the point, and what I like about running and what it does is, you know, what I know now is when I go to races, it's that really weird thing where basically suddenly you find out your next door neighbor runs. I didn't know you ran. And the guy 3 doors down from you runs. And what you have here is there's a group of people here on iPads. We had some friends over from America who basically came to run with us. So sometimes we get their iPads out and they basically can run with us virtually. They're in their house in New York and they're basically there watching us getting ready for our run. We're using technology for what it's not supposed to be intended for in a way that activates and inspires young people. I think I sound like Yoda right about now. Another thing that I really like about being active now is the language of sport. Sport without music is just a game. But you've had a social commentary, whether it's being a commentator or a soundtrack, and suddenly what this guy does, it gets even more sexy than it is when it's just him on the cold river rowing the boat. You put that Chariots of Fire music on the top, and suddenly he looks like Superman. So what we started doing is, I wrote a load of haikus for the London Marathon. I started sticking them up in my area, just to basically provoke some conversation in people. There's one here that says, "Catch me if you can," said the tortoise to the hare, "I'm faster than look." This one here is, "The city is my stadium, the cars are my enemies, the street is my track." For a lot of the young people we work with, they may live in E15, they will never go to E3. E3 is 2 minutes away. You can see E3. So what running allows me to do with people that I work with now is allows us to basically safely navigate our cities as a group. When you see myself coming down the road with 200 people, you're getting out the road. I'm going anywhere I want to go, okay? The amazing thing about London is it's a lot smaller than it looks, and I think this is one of the things that you find when basically you get into marathon training, is suddenly you need to go and run a 20-mile run, and 5 miles is basically taking you from here to like the end of the, it's kind of, London's a lot smaller, but the amazing thing about London is there are a lot of people who live in the city who actually know absolutely nothing about it. And my idea is basically, through the idea of running, it allows us to basically discover our city in a new way. And I'm really not interested in running on main roads. I want to go to the back streets, to the alleys. So one of the things that we did when we first started, we started hanging out with cab drivers, people who'd done the knowledge. And we started finding out basically the routes that they took in the back streets because we wanted to discover new areas. And it's an amazing thing to run with a group of people and suddenly turn a corner that they'd never seen before and show them a building in their city that basically they never even knew existed. Are you nodding your heads affirmatively? I thought you were. Okay. What has it done for myself and the crew? It's basically, running has basically allowed us to be the best that we can be. I think one of the things about life and living in London in particular, it's very, very rare. In fact, let me ask you a question. When was the last time, put your hand up if someone in the past week has come up to you and said one of the following: A, you're a really good friend. Or B, you're really good at your job. Or 3, I really like you because you're a really good person. Okay, so let's see, there's about 100 people in this room and we've got 3 people. These odds are terrible because my son is 5. And for the moment that boy wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep, as soon as he does anything, we get the video camera, we film him, and we basically tell that child how wonderful he is. And what happens is, then we send him to school. And then you don't want to be the kid in school who basically puts your hand up first, or who's good at something, because then other people look at you, and then basically you start to stand out, and you get yourself a reputation. So invariably what happens as an adult, you start shrinking into this little public character that you create for yourself when you leave your house. What running does is it basically allows us to come together, and actually, if I go out for a 10-mile run with someone and they do really well, I'm telling them all the way, that was amazing, because I remember what it was like when you first started. And it allows me to basically come together with people, and sport allows us to basically encourage and inspire each other to be the best that we can be. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to be good at something and be proud of the fact that you are good at something, and to share that with other people and try and inspire as many other people as you possibly can. Is that you waving your hand to tell me 5 minutes? Okay, fine. We're going to go through. Medals. You run races, you get medals, they sit in drawers. They're irrelevant. The only other people who basically care about your marathon time are people who do not run. They're the only people like, oh my God, you ran your marathon in 3.5 hours. You're so amazing. I don't care. Actually, I've got more care for the person who takes 6 hours because they're on the road for a longer time and it takes more effort. And it's harder to run a marathon in 6 hours than it is to run it in 3.5. Yeah? Because by that time, you're on the road by yourself. Running has allowed this group of people that I work with to travel all around the world and basically see cities in a way they never thought. It allows me to wake up in the morning with a load of other people and basically set goals where we support each other to basically reach a fitness level. And that's really important, basically, just to have people around you who basically are kind of telling you that you're doing well. Because there are points where it's kind of like, there's no point in telling someone to eat well if they don't know why, or you can't explain it to them in a way that they can understand. And that's, I think, one of the problems that we have at the moment is basically we kind of have this sports industry that basically is very complex and it's difficult to understand. And there are all these other people who'd be really into it if you could just break it down to them in a way that was manageable. My thing is this: when I run for my community, what I'm doing is I'm basically showing, particularly young people that I work with, that basically the guy that you've got, the footballer that you have on your wall is cool, but I'm inspiring you with every step because you see me running in the mornings, you see me out there in wintertime, you see me there in summer, you see me putting the miles in. And by doing that, I'm inspiring you to get off the wall and come and join me. So a lot of times when we go on our runs, the kids, they will see us come past and they're going to come and run with us. They might only run with us for 500 meters, but at least they've done something. And that 500 meters will then turn into a mile, will then turn into a 10K, into a half marathon, into a full marathon. And the reason why I know this is because I've seen kids go from, bruv, I'm not running with you to the end of the street. I'm not even running with you to the chicken shop. To suddenly being, next year, I want to run London Marathon with you. I want to come and do it. I want to do it. I want to see if I can do it. Documenting your travels is really important. And as I said before, this idea about traveling, we recently went to Shanghai and we basically helped set up a crew of runners in Shanghai. So basically there's Run Dem Crew in London and we're connected to probably between 25 to 30 different running crews around the world, and it's growing daily. And it's just people who are just basically being inspired by each other and waking up and saying, I want to do that, so I'm going to get myself and my 3 friends and we're going to start a crew and we're going to start running. And one of the things we've started doing now is picking races in different countries and basically meeting and a date, and we all kind of come together in one city to basically explore it and do one race together. This is us from the British 10K. I trained a group of young boys, and basically this is us coming through our cheering section underneath Waterloo Bridge. Because the main thing is this: it's all very well that you're running and you're excelling in your sport, but what about the community that you came from? London Marathon is this weekend. Lots of people will basically watch it on TV and say, I'd love to do that. And then after 6 hours, they turn it off and then they leave that thought to next year. Our idea is, let's put a cheer zone at mile 21. Let's turn it into a carnival. And basically, let's get the community out on the road to come and support the runners, from the fastest elite guy right through to the slowest person. Because then if you see sport physically in motion, in flesh, then you're more likely to take part. And that's one of the things about having a crew, is that when I go out, you know, I'm waving to taxi drivers, I'm talking to the shopkeeper, I'm talking to the bus drivers. In fact, I'm racing the bus driver, because why? I want to have a presence in my community so that they feel that they're involved in my training just as much as I am. Last thing before we wrap up is, as I said, I work a lot with young people. We have this slogan in the crew, which is from sofa to finish line. And basically, it's the idea of, I don't want to wait to get people when they're 30 and then encourage them to start taking up sport because actually they're concerned about their vanity. What I want to do is I want to get them when they're 7. I want to get them when they're 5. I want to get them when they're 10. I want to get them early. The reason why is if you can just get young people basically into the idea that sport is just a way of life. It's just something that you do. The idea of being fit for the city that you live in means that if I miss my bus on the way to school, I'm going to race the bus driver to the next bus stop, then I'm going to get on in style, and I'm not going to be sweating or breathing hard, and I'm going to go to my seat. Next time, he will stop for me. So we basically have taken loads of groups of young people from around the UK and around London, and we've taken them from sofa to finish line of a distance. This is a group that we work with. We ran the half marathon, Run to the Beat. And I think the one thing that as well about running as well is that basically it brings different generations together. So I know that basically my music collection is pretty good at the moment because I've got a lot of 15-year-old boys who are telling me what I should be listening to. At the same time, I've got some older men and women in my crew who are maybe in their 50s and 60s, who I get to run with, who basically, they're just passing down their knowledge of life into me. So as I'm running, I'm having a conversation. I'm networking, but I'm networking in a new way. We're winding up now. This is a book that we did with a group of young people where we said to them, how can you get more young people to run? We'll find the funds, you make us a book. And they made us a book. And it's really particularly important for young girls, because a lot of the young girls that I work with basically have got such a low body image of themselves, because from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, they're just bombarded with images of what they should look like. What we're finding out as well is that we're getting a lot of young males who, when they're waking up, they're also getting bombarded with images of what they feel that they should look like. So basically, by bringing these people together, all in one group, we're basically trying to kind of set new levels. The main thing I will say is that basically, this is me at the London Marathon after I failed to get my 3:30 and came home in around 4 hours. I was crying. But the main thing which I really like about running is just the fact that it basically has just brought an amazing group of people together from across the world, and we're just sharing this adventure, and we're growing old together, and we're trying to inspire as many people as we can along the way. My last picture I'm going to show you is that basically, this is from the Rotterdam Marathon. It was on the weekend. It's one of our young guys. This is the final 50 meters. Traditionally, when you run with people, running is a very selfish sport. Traditionally, people always think about their own PB. What we're trying to do with Run Dem Crew is basically, your PB means nothing if you haven't helped some people along the way. The guy in the black sacrificed his PB to basically help his friend reach the finish line. And basically, that for me sums up what Run Dem Crew is about and what running means to me. It's basically about empowering myself, giving myself a voice from my footsteps. I've got a tattoo on my arm. It says, I do not run. I push the earth down with my feet, and I leave my footprints in the concrete behind me. With every step that I take, when I run through the streets, I'm basically telling the world that I'm alive, and I'm here to stay, and I'm trying to inspire and bring as many people along on that journey so we can grow old together. Because if I do good, it means that you do good. It's basically the idea that if we all do good together, then we just make the world a better place. My name is Charlie Dark, and I am indeed the founder of Run Dem Crew.